us.
Yeah. What are you guys drinking?
Bubble tea.
Yeah. What sort of bubble tea?
One of them's Mojito.
I got the pomegranate with fruit pearls.
Brilliant.
I think it was supposed to have normal boba in it, but it doesn't.
Oh,
I
do you know
think
what?
so too. These pearls blast as soon as they go into your mouth.
Do you know it's popping boba?
Yeah.
Do you know what happened when we tried to get these?
What?
This bubble tea shop had run out of normal balls.
Right.
Can you believe it? And I was like, how am I going to tell
Your one job.
your one job as a bubble tea place? You've run out of tapioca, so that's why you've got the
It's
popping balls.
okay, but thank you.
But yeah, I like to do some analysis on the type of people I think you are based on the bubble tea you order. So Deborah, we'll start with you. Pomegranate. It's a superfood, pomegranate, so it feels like you're got super, like you like to do things really well. You like to be ambitious, scale things. Would you think that's a right analysis?
I'll take that.
You'll take
Definitely.
that,
Absolutely. You've
yeah. Have I hit the nail on the head?
Yeah.
I just wanted to explore. Because my sister was like, go for passion fruit. I was like, nah, passion fruit is boring. We'll go for pomegranate.
Pomegranate, super full of antioxidants.
Yes.
Yeah, you quite health conscious?
I am.
Oh, what are you?
Annoyingly, but yeah. Pomegranates. I love pomegranates so much.
Yeah.
Actual pomegranates. I don't know how much pomegranate will be in this.
That's a good question.
I mean,
But-
given the color.
Yeah, they've done well with the color. It's
Yeah.
it's believable.
It's believable, yeah. And Shefali, because you got a mojito, I thought you were like cool, calm, collected, you know, when the business, maybe there's some challenges, you always remain level-headed. How was that analysis?
I think that's fair. I think I work better when there is stress. Like I'm less anxious when there is stress, but I'm more anxious when there is no stress.
Okay. What is something waiting to go wrong? It's like
Yeah, it's like it's too calm of a period.
too calm. Yeah, you're used to high-pressure environments. Okay, amazing. So the first element of this podcast is called 0 to 6. So we want to know everything you did from the first time you had the idea to 6 months later, because the idea with the podcast is to give people these really actionable insights that they can take away if they want to start a business. So first, tell us, what was your motivation for starting DotPlot? Both of you can take it away. Yes.
You expect. No, go ahead.
DotPlot began as one of our classroom projects. So we had a module which was about bringing impact and making impact to the society. And all of us, so it was a team of 4, and all of us were focused on healthcare. And we really wanted to see through a healthcare solution, explore. We had 3 months, so it was quite some time to actually explore just one project. And so that's how it started. We all were discussing our observations from our daily lives, including any sort of nuances where we've found it hard to monitor ourselves or any aspect of our health. And that's when I brought to the table of aspect of breast health monitoring, which was basically during COVID, I had an incident where I went to my aunt, who's a gynecologist, and I asked her that there's some sort of a pain that I'm experiencing right now, and what does pain in breasts actually mean? So she basically told me just to monitor myself and look at it for the next 14 days and come back if anything changes. But I just kept nudging her, and I was like, "Can you just check me for the next 14 days?" Because I actually don't know what it's supposed to feel like. And that was just long ago, and it just sat with me and just held on to it. And then when we started discussing it, everybody in the group seemed to be really motivated by it. We also spoke to a couple of radiologists and doctors in the beginning, before the project even started, and confirmed that there wasn't anything that was there to help with this. And that's how we identified the niche we wanted to work on.
So it really came from a personal problem. Was this before the masters?
Yeah, it was like way before masters. So it was like 2 years before masters. But it didn't really, I had no chance at no point did I actually feel I had enough resources or enough expertise or enough team capabilities to actually deliver it. And when we started working on it, we just started speaking to lots of people. It resonated with every woman we spoke to.
Yeah,
So
amazing. Yeah. And that's the thing because you're right with that confidence and ease. You don't really know what you're doing. Like people say check, but it's like in what way, like for how long? It's a difficult thing to navigate. So the next question is, was there a specific moment you've had in your life that you both knew you were going to become entrepreneurs?
Absolutely not.
My main motivation to move to UK was to explore more avenues than just a job. And if it was for just a job, I would have actually just gone back. But I think
Come back where?
gone back.
Gone
back to India.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So I'm from India.
Yeah.
And then I would have gone back to India. It's but I think having something of my own is what kept me going here.
Yeah. So you always wanted something of your own.
Yeah.
And Deborah, what about yourself?
With the complete opposite. So I came out of undergrad, and I was like, this was fun, this was good. I learnt lots. I want to go a bit further. So I came to innovation design engineering. We call it IDE for short. Just thinking, okay, this is just an opportunity to expand my understanding of like how innovation and design and engineering all comes together. And that was where I discovered that Imperial has a huge startup like community. What I was completely clueless. So I had no intention of going into business or entrepreneurship at all. In fact, I was put off by it. I was like, nope, that's not me.
What put you off entrepreneurship?
I think in my head, it was the unhealthy stereotypes I had around entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So thinking that there was a particular, maybe like a personality type or trait or the kind of person you needed to be to start a business. I think I've also watched too much of The Apprentice.
Yeah.
So I think put off by, just inaccurate representations of what entrepreneurship means. But since starting, you realise it's got nothing to do with that at all. So.
This is why we're like so excited to have you guys on the podcast, building a medtech, not looking like people who usually have built medtechs. So honestly, like I think it's inspiring just seeing.
We get that from investors too.
Yeah,
so
they're
that's
like,
fine.
damn, like, do you pop up on the call and they're like, whoa, you two are doing what?
You're product designer?
Yeah, exactly.
You're building medtech.
Are you sure?
You sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any people doubt, both of your maybe capabilities, or how has it been for you?
I think at some point it's not just that them expressing that we don't have the expertise. I think we've realized it internally also. Because at points you do need, you have to have a focus, you have to have correct numbers, and you have to have that expertise. But it's not something that we can just build in like a year of time, right? So that's why there are experts, that's why there are specialists, so they need to come on board.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
And you're like extracting, how are you bringing on board these people with expertise?
Oh, a mix. So sometimes it's literally just like leveraging our network, because we went to Imperial, so there's lots of contacts through that. But then also just engaging with as many like doctors and specialists that we come across, that we research, we find through other institutions as well. But back to your point, I don't think the doubt that people express is not doubt to say, please shut this down, this is not a good idea.
Me too.
It's not like that. It's more just go out, make sure you're finding this expertise, bring them on board, and then come back to us with a stronger team. But yeah, it's been good feedback,
which is fair enough. So you think it's like a healthy surprise? Are people willing to help out?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the benefit that our proposition has itself is it's a very user-centric problem. Yeah. It's a very user-centric product. So you cannot not have product designers on it. So it's just that we've solved one aspect of thing, but we also need to focus on the second bit, which is what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
So people usually have maybe a technology and then recruit people, but we've identified what is needed, and we've identified what can solve it, and that's what we're going for.
So what did the early days of DotPlot look like? So you had this idea, you brought to the team. How did you set that into motion?
The thing is, it helped a lot having a structure within the whole curriculum of those 3 months when we were actually working on the project. Just because we had specific deadlines to meet, we knew that we had to talk to 50 people in 2 weeks. Then we knew we had to do like a deep dive into experts. And then we had to come up with experiments. So we had to do all of that. And I think that gave us like a very, hackathon vibe, where we just had to finish it off in 3 months and bring it to a level where we could say that this is the proposition we want to go forward with. And all of that exploration, was a really high-paced one, and that helped a lot. So 3 months on that, and then we were lucky enough to have 3 months on Imperial's another program, which is supported by Enterprise Lab, and it was Venture Catalyst Challenge. So we had 3 months of rigorous business training. So I think those 3 months on tech and identifying what you want to do, and then 3 months in business really helped us build a very strong case.
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
No, definitely similar. I think the high pressure of the master's program that we were on definitely helped. Otherwise, you can be thinking, over analyzing, that sort of thing. But it just made sure you had an idea. Okay, expand on the idea. Like Chef was saying, come up with different experiments, test them quickly, get your feedback, go back again, iterate. And I think that's kind of the heart of design thinking.
Yeah.
It's just about iterating, going back to your users. What do they want you to improve on over and over again? But I think that high pressure energy was serious.
Yeah. Was that helpful? Because I guess sometimes if you're making your own deadlines, you can kind of be relaxed. But if people are telling you need to do this, and this, it can really accelerate things.
Absolutely. I think having those hard deadlines is really useful. So even now, before we come on to this, but having things like grant projects really helps you to set milestones or what you want to be achieving. It focuses your work so much because you need to present an output at the end of it. Yeah. So I think deadlines work for us quite well. If we don't have deadlines,
it doesn't.
I think that's the benefit. I don't know. I think it comes with any startup that you try to run, right? Because at the end of the day, if you've taken someone's money, you have to show them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that keeps you going. That keeps you wanting to work for it.
So how did you two know you wanted to work together? How did you build this relationship?
We've never been asked. I don't think we ever questioned that we couldn't work together.
Oh, I love that.
And I think during the group project also, because I think we always had different sets of outputs, and there was always it's just some sort of resonance. It was never a question somehow.
It feels like I don't know to sound too emotional, but it feels like love. When people are like, I just knew. Like there was never like a no or what it. Like it's just it kind of worked.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think sorry, go ahead.
No, say it.
No, I was going to say the I don't know, the way Shefali works is it's really admirable. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, is this person in a business? Yeah, this would work definitely. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
No, it is. It really is. Very focused, very diligent, and that's what you need in a startup anyway. So yeah, like you said, never questioned our ability to work on something like this at all.
So please tell the audience, what does product design mean? And can you try and include design thinking in the way?
Okay.
Yeah, to really educate the
product
audience.
Design mean? I think product design, it kind of encompasses everything that's involved from taking a product from idea or concept all the way through to the final output. So I think, like we've kind of touched on before, it's identifying, okay, we have maybe a problem to solve or something that we want to develop. That's nice. Okay, go out to speak to people, understand what the problem is, come back, kind of draw insights from those. And I think one thing we learned, on our masters, was that insights always need to be actionable. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be something that you can do something about, a problem that you can resolve, and then kind of working on that. Ideating, coming up with different solutions to the problems, going out, testing that with people, coming back, refining it, and doing that over and over again until you're satisfied with your output. So I think that's kind of what we would talk product design was. More theoretical perspective of it, but yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think product design benefits a lot from visualization, just because I think the skills that you get is how do you communicate the idea best. And I think it makes you set a vision for the product itself. And once you set that vision, you can actually test it with people. Even if you show a proper image of DotPlot to people and be like, okay, this is how you use it. Even if it's a fake device, they can actually give you some sort of feedback in terms of what they might want, what they might not want with it. So it's like using digital media to create these high fidelity outputs, but they're actually not high fidelity outputs.
Because it's just the experience.
It's the experience, right? So how do you best create the experience in a way so that people can actually give you true feedback rather than just a very subjective sort of a feedback?
Yeah,
that is so crucial.
Cool.
Yeah,
because I've seen the device before, and I have no idea how it's even working, but it just feels like, I don't know. How did you get that feeling, that ease of? Was there a specific way people put their hands in that?
I think there was always one thing that we knew that it was supposed to be pressed again, so we knew it had to be held. But we had a couple of different iterations for it, and we gave it out to people, and we're like, okay, which one do you? We first had something that was held like that, so so that it was say your device like this, and then you could like hold it like that, and then like press it against your chest. That was bad.
It didn't
So
work.
we knew it was bad. But yeah, we always knew that there was a footprint that it had to cover. So it had to cover, say, a 3 by 5 centimeter square, like a rectangle, and based on the footprint, I mean, it's still iterating. It would still change, but I think that's where we set our constraints, and that's when we started brainstorming. And we had a mood board, so you always start with products that you like, put them together, and then try to create something similar to that.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that having those multiple not iterations but versions, like even with the device, I remember I think you could like print it out multiple different ways to hold it, and then put that in front of people and say, okay, what's the best exactly, as opposed to asking someone, okay, tell me what kind of device do you want. You're just not going to get the answer that you're trying to from them. And I can't remember who, I think it's someone from Frog who was saying when you're trying to test things out with people, go with like as low fidelity as possible, because then they give you such honest feedback. For instance, if you're designing an app, you can just go with it drawn on paper and be like, okay, what would you put on this home screen here, as opposed to having a fully fleshed out thing and then put it in front and be like, oh, what would you do? How would you change it? Because they don't feel as if they can give you an honest
because
answer.
you put so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to make it seem as if it's really modifiable at that point, and then they're really honest with their feedback.
And something that just came to mind, maybe because it's a bit chilly in here, but is it like cold on the skin? I was just wondering.
That's a good question.
That's a question that's the thing we've gotten from people during usability test also.
Okay.
They found it cold. But we do not have a definitive answer for it yet. But yeah, we will work on making it not cold on the skin. But yeah, we know it's a challenge.
Yeah. It just occurred to me.
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting. And can you provide an overview for the product design process in more detail, from like concept to now your the product that you have, app and the hardware?
Righty.
Yeah, like
concept. So from concept, what did we do? One thing that we were taught to do was to experiment as much as possible in these early phases. So we would say, like, have a hypothesis. For example, what was one of our hypotheses that we had in EXP? I can't remember.
I think one of them was, so we always had this insight from people saying that, can you do a self-check yourself, or would you like your partner to do a self-check for you? Because people said that how I found about breast cancer is when my partners actually checked me, or I've asked them, or I cross-reference with them. So they always were looking for like a sort of a reassurance tool, right? And that's when we came up with the hypothesis, okay, what reassures you more? Your partner doing it on you, or you doing it on yourself? And turns out that there's a balance of both. So there was, initially we also thought that if DotPlot was to be used by your partner on you and they do a self-check for you, how does that work? Is it actually possible to do it? And we didn't go ahead with that one. And then another hypothesis we had was passive versus active ways of doing a self-check. So a passive way of doing a self-check could be it's just a wearable bra. So you wear it all day and maybe one day a month, and it does. So say when you move, can we determine it with the weight or the weight shift that's happening? And that was a passive way of doing it.
I really want to ask both of you, what role does innovation play in product design, and how can designers foster a culture of creativity?
Yeah. I think important thing is open-mindedness, because the whole beauty of innovation is that it's about creating novel solutions to problems that have either existed for a while or new problems that you've come across. So I think it's important. It's important to kind of keep that freshness alive, so you're able to create a solution that's dealing with people's challenges, or whatever challenge it is, in a new and exciting way, because you don't want to see the same thing over and over again. Which is quite crucial. And keeping that open-mindedness, so that when you do go out and explore and you find out that people's responses to your questions or whatever it is that you're coming up with are different to what you expected, you're able to take that on board anyway. Because I think something that we found is that you can have so many assumptions about your users or what you expect them to be doing, and you come back to the drawing board and you realise that actually those assumptions were either completely wrong or completely right. So it's important to be validating those things, because it just helps to keep things novel, fresh. I think
also open-mindedness I think as product designers, if you are entrepreneurs, I think it's also crucial to not just be open-minded just to the users, but also to the idea of using, say, a business-oriented solution to solve a user-centric problem. I think this came out of like a conversation that we had recently with one of our mentors, and she was mentioned. So we've always struggled with how do you make sure people would only use it once a month and not overuse it.
Oh, you don't want people.
No, you shouldn't be overusing it. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be doing it. Maybe we don't know if it's once or twice, but even if it's twice, it shouldn't be used every single day.
Is it too much data or like?
No, it's basically based on your hormonal cycle. So you're supposed to do self-checks. At the same time of the month.
But even so, there's no benefit to doing it multiple times a month.
Yeah.
So there's no point in general.
And unnecessary anxiety.
Yeah, so I think one of the propositions our mentor had was, it wasn't even related to this, but it was just that she said, what if there was a token-based system where you had certain number of tokens and you could only use, say, one token a month in order to, and every other token that you want to use, you have to pay more.
Yeah.
And that's a way of preventing it. And just seeing that a business-led solution could actually solve a very user-centric problem brings so much more excitement to the idea of developing this, just because you can be not just looking at one way of solving things, but 1,000 different ways of solving things. And just being open to that, I think, can just foster creativity in general.
Yeah, you two are obviously very creative people. Do you have like any quick ways people can be more creative, like how they can get their ideas out there, or think of more creative solutions? Like, do you have any techniques?
Something? No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's something that we got this from a design school. I think, at least for me, I think I would say that this is something that was that laid the foundation of why creative, like how creative you can be. And there's no benchmark to how creative you can be. It just keeps going. I think
It just is.
It's like I don't know. I don't have any.
No, I mean, no, it's true. It's true. I think being taught like the creative process has been really useful. But then things that people can try out. One thing we used to do was Crazy 8.
Nice.
So we give ourselves. Have you done it before?
I've done it once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Things like that. So when you put yourself under a time pressure to come up with something on the spot, I'd also say like if it's like you're trying to get an idea on paper, throw away your pencils, get out a pen so you can't erase anything. Just draw and draw and draw until you chuck it out onto that piece of paper.
Yeah.
But I think it's letting go of trying to think about things really, really logically.
Yeah.
Just I don't know.
I think not being rational when you're brainstorming is how you can turn these ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just don't think, just write.
Just write, keep going.
Yeah.
And it's weird how things evolve. Like, you know, when you always have this idea and you're like, it's the best idea ever, but then when you write more and talk to more people, it just becomes like this new and amazing thing.
I think once you have an idea, think of it as a prompt to start a conversation with someone and let them talk.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's it. And
So
then
true.
you get it.
So
You'll get to a point where you start identifying patterns and you'll see what people actually want. And it's honestly, I wouldn't even say that it's entirely your own creativity. I think it comes from other people.
others. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who is creative, without others? So those are really, really interesting points. So the next section of the podcast is to go on to fundraising challenges. I know you guys have been really lucky, well, not really lucky because you've worked hard, to secure grants. And I'd love to delve into more about how you're planning to raise more and things like that. So for listeners of the podcast, how did you go about securing your grants for your business?
Grants, yeah. So, I mean, we'd heard about these a lot, like through the program that Shefali mentioned, the Venture Catalyst Challenge at Imperial. So they went through all the different funding avenues that you can be exploring. Grants wasn't a really important one. I think some of the really good advice we've gotten about them was from one of our mentors who was saying, so for instance, for us, if you were to think, okay, what kind of grants would you go for? It was like the biomedical ones, the medical ones, the very sciencey or technology focused ones. But an important thing is to not narrow it down based on what your field is. Yeah. So, for example, there's one grant that's called the Design Foundations one, which we applied for last year, which looks at how you can be adopting a user-centric approach to creating or improving your design. So to think really broadly about what you can be developing, because there's such a breadth of grants out there from different sources. But that was kind of where we started. And what I'd recommend is going for smaller ones, building your experience from there, and then going for the larger and larger ones. You probably want to be writing your own grants in the beginning. I wouldn't suggest like jumping into
paying
grant
someone.
writers
straight
away, just so you can have a good understanding of the process. And what is required from people. But really good advice that we got from an advisor is to answer the questions very, very specifically. Like, don't take them as prompts or anything. These are things that they're trying to pull out from you. So don't just say, oh, that's a suggestion, I'll tick off this, but not that. It's just everything.
So it's like an exam, knowing what to write, really having that granular detail. Yeah, amazing. And so how would you find I was talking to you recently, and I know you're having some fundraising challenges. Please share to the audience. So after you've got your grant, now I guess you're looking for more.
I think there's never an end to looking for money. But that being said, fundraising challenges, I think it's I think I would like to start by saying that we thought we were ready for fundraising, but the feedback that we received from people was that we still need to de-risk it a bit more. And I think how de-risk it.
Okay.
So we still need to de-risk the entire proposition of DotPlot. So I guess it's multiple things. It's like you need to be commercial. So you say you can be commercially viable. You say you're feasible, and you say your product is something that people want. But I think there are different levels to each of these, and achieving certain levels of readiness in all of these aspects is very crucial to be able to stand in front of an investor and justify that you're ready for an investment. And I think a proposition like ours, which is something which is completely novel, a market that's never been tapped into. So if the market hasn't been tapped into, there are two ways of looking at it. Like, nobody actually explored it, and the other way is nobody was able to do it because nobody wants it. So if investor says, okay, how did you actually validate your case, then you really need to have a very thorough understanding. And that's the entire process of de-risking it. And that's why I think that we were fairly early when we did go to the investors.
Too early, you would say?
Yeah, too early. And there's a lot that we can still achieve with grants in the meantime before we go to them again.
That's a really mature approach, because people are always rushing for money, the pre-seed. Everyone wants it now.
Yeah.
But I thought people would be throwing you money, because I feel like the device is so good. I was like, they would have no problem. So when you said you had over like 30, 40 calls, I was like, really? Like this?
I mean, one of the founders I spoke with, he mentioned that they had to go to 120 investors and only the last 4 invested.
120?
Yeah. He was like, be ready for 120 calls, 120 new investors, and at least like 3 calls with
each. So you've got 80 left to go.
80 to go.
80 to go. Have you put that in your grant?
I mean, that was only for pre-seed. Imagine, this is not even Series A, Series B. This is pre-seed, not even seed.
120. Some founders in general, I'm like, the tenacity it takes.
That's it. It's tenacity. So much grit. There's so many things you wouldn't foresee going into it. But I think as willing as investors may be to throw money into like a really good proposition, at the end of the day,
they are trying to.
They're trying to get a return, and it's important for them to see that you have taken the steps to, like Shefali said, minimize that risk as much as possible, that risk of not getting that return as much as possible, and to see that you're not using their money to just fuel development that you could have done
without
by other means. Exactly.
So I've lost my train of thought there, but I was going to say, what are you guys doing between now and when you want to raise pre-seed that's going to help you get closer to proving to investors that it's ready, it's viable?
Yeah, so I think we have 2 different sets of activities, one specifically for the app and the other one specifically for the device. So for the device, we do want to finish off our comparative trials, so gather some clinical evidence before we actually go for another round of, or like asking for private investment. And I think for the app, we're still debating, but we might be able to launch it on people's phone and give it to say 100 to 200 users and see their feedback, refine it, make sure it's completely ready before going to the investors.
Is the app ready at the moment?
It works in a way that you can actually build a 3D map of your torso.
Wow.
And you can you can do your self-check just with your fingers. And basically it would tell you that these are the regions you've covered and these you haven't covered, but only for the fingers right now.
Not connected to the device yet.
Device is connected, but since the device is not necessarily picking up any of the signals from the breast, so that's you're not taking any readings at the moment.
And that's what you're working on doing?
Yeah, which is what we want to do before we go to the investors.
Fair enough. So the next section is we're going to have like a little female entrepreneur themed quiz. So it's kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You can do 50-50, you can call a friend. But I thought these questions would be fitting for you. So, who is the Nobel Prize winning chemist known for pioneering her work on the structure of DNA alongside James Watson and Francis Crick? So A, is it Rosalind Franklin? B, Florence Nightingale? C, Barbara McClintock? D, Dorothy Crowfoot Hodgkin?
I don't know. C.
Barbara McClintock. It's wrong. It's actually Rosalind Franklin. Apparently, they stole her work.
Really?
James and Francis. Yeah, apparently it was a lot of her work that they didn't put on the structure of DNA.
Is
So
that why it's called Francis Crick Institute?
exactly, but it should be the Francis Crick Franklin Institute. Yeah. Apparently she did a lot of the work. Okay, so next question. Which entrepreneur was the youngest ever to pass A-level computing in the UK and is the founder of the social enterprise?
Anna-Maria Maffedon.
Precisely, yeah.
Oh, Dr. Anna-Maria Maffedon, sorry.
Yes. And how do you know her? Tell us a bit about your story.
How do I know? I don't know her personally like that, but she had a book launch earlier this year, which we were invited to come and speak on the panel of. So yeah, went and represented DotPlot for that. So that was very exciting. Very cool to meet her.
That's
I've been a
huge.
very big fan. She came to speak in Leeds when I was studying there at uni, and I was like, wow, you are so cool.
Yeah, and then you got to the stage with her.
Yeah, imagine. Full circle. but
Imagine
yeah.
what a full, yeah. Did you ever see it?
Did I ever see that coming? No, absolutely not, no.
Yeah. And then this is the final question. It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you've lived so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you have failed by default. Which famous female entrepreneur said this? Do you need the options?
Oh, I've read this recently. Yeah, yes, please.
J.K. Rowling, Oprah Winfrey, Sarah Blakely, or Estee Lauder?
That's really hard.
I've read this.
Is it J.K. Rowling?
It is.
JK, yeah.
What made you think that? How did you finally come to that?
I think I've read this before. I've seen her hyphen in her name next to it. That's how I remember it.
Yeah. So that is the end of the quiz section. So we've got the final section, which is called reality, because it's bubble tea reality. We try to we want to really know the challenges and the insights and the highlights of running a business, but completely real, all the truth, nothing but the truth. So both of you, have there been any sacrifices you've made to run this business?
I think for me, I think the biggest sacrifice is because all of my family is based in India and I'm here. It sometimes does get to me when, say, a business not functioning. I always feel like, why am I here? I could have just been at home and this would have been so much more easier. Yeah, but that's only when like DotPlot hits like a bit of low or I'm feeling very anxious about the business. But other than that, it's fine.
Does it get lonely being here, like detached from your family, or have you got another support system? You know, Debra and others.
Yeah, I mean, I do have my own set of people around here. My sister also moved this year recently. She's doing business here, studying business here. So she's here for another year, but that's it. But sometimes it does get lonely. But having, I'm lucky to have friends around. So that always helps. And the thing is, most of the friends I have are actually not based in the UK. Mm-hmm. I mean, they weren't based in the UK and they only moved here for the course. So we kind of share the same
experience.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Debra? Because I know you said you didn't even want to be an entrepreneur.
I mean, not sacrificing anything as big as family or the comfort of home, but I think sacrificing maybe like an easier easier career path, if that counts. But because in my mind I was like, okay, I'll finish uni, like take a good nap, and then then I don't know, go into like design consultancy or something. But it's been completely different. So I guess the sacrifice of a comfort zone, but yeah, it's been worth it.
I think it's just a journey of like learning new things. It's every day you wake up, you have a certain number of tasks to do, but you have no idea how you're going to achieve them. And just trying to figure your way out. It just gives you confidence, just makes you more confident by yourself that you can figure it out, And that gives you the confidence to believe in something. And when you put it in hands of someone and you just keep living for the day when it's in hands of someone smiles at it, and then that's it.
And actually it's saving their life.
I don't know I wouldn't say that we're there yet to save a life. It's only because we don't know what other sorts of like treatments might exist for cancer by then. But it's just that making people aware of their own health and well-being is good enough as an impact.
Yeah, and the final question for both of you, do you have any advice for budding entrepreneurs watching the podcast?
Wow, advice. Oh, I think a big thing is if you have an idea or depending on what stage they're at, is to just keep your end users really core to your development. Just use them as your soundboard, as your area of validation, and also to keep you motivated as well. I mean, it's every now and then, like Chef was saying, you'll reach very low points in the business, but I think keeping in mind that people are interested in what you're creating, are keen to have it, and are waiting for it to be out there is is very encouraging. And another piece of advice I'd say is to make sure you have a very good support system, not just outside of your business, but in terms of like mentors, advisors, people that you can be looking up to, people who are both ahead of you and maybe behind where you are at the moment, so you can learn from and then also provide information to. And last thing is to not burn yourself out too quickly. I think in the beginning we were going at like 100,000 miles per hour, really, working on weekends, doing all of that. It was too much. And I think especially for a product like DotPlot, where the runway is quite long, you want to be going at a very sustainable pace. I don't want it to get to a point where we're like 3 years down the line and we're too burnt out to even take it any further. So the important thing is to slow and steady, like take those breaks. We used to work weekends. We don't work weekends anymore. We don't do that.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, we did that for the first, I think, until last year, I think, until this Jan or something. Yeah, we were working weekends.
Because it's really good to come back on a Monday with fresh eyes, having rested properly, and then put all your all into those 5 days, and then take the 2 days of rest.
And you're measuring.
If you have deadline on Monday, just work through the weekend, and then maybe take 2 days off later, but take those days off.
You're right. You're building for longevity, so you want to make sure you're healthy, you're fit.
Absolutely. Don't buy into that whole startup hustle, work till you drop. No, don't.
I think that's just the idea that's been created. But most of the entrepreneurs, if you speak with them, I think they would really talk about the work-life balance that they have, and they usually like do something at the end of the day that would ease you before you go to bed, because it does get to a point where you become really anxious about business. What sort of things ease you? Just as a final question. As in just something that you love to do. I mean, I play tennis, but that's it. If I'm angry, I just hit the ball harder. That's all I do.
And release it that way. So the final thing, any last thoughts you just want to share, get off your chest? This is an open space, and we'll end the podcast there. Anything can be random.
Don't write yourself off from entrepreneurship if you don't think it's for you.
Amazing.
At least explore it, talk to people about it, and take things from there. But don't feel as if you need a particular skill set, mindset, personality if you want to jump into it. Like it's for anyone, honestly, as long as you have the right mindset and the right motivations for starting it as well. I think you can go really, really far. You'll surprise yourself how capable you are of doing something like this. And just remember that it's about having lots of people around you who can drive you through that process. Just don't do it in isolation at all. But I think one more thing I would probably add to that is
if you have an idea, it's not necessary that everyone would resonate with it, but there would be someone who would resonate with it. You just need to find the correct people to work with and build from there.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've loved hearing your insights. Honestly, you've really inspired me as people just doing what you do. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. I have really enjoyed my time with Debra and Shefali. They've really highlighted the fact that you don't need to be this stereotypical entrepreneur to really solve some of the world's biggest and pressing challenges. I really do hope you've enjoyed, and please press like and share to help this podcast reach more aspiring entrepreneurs. Thank you for listening.